everyone, and welcome to the SFL podcast for Week 7, presented by APM Music. I am your host, Jack Brown, alongside my analysts, Ramos Lynn and Mighty RX. We're here to give you a nice little rundown of what happened last week in the SFL upcoming this week. This week, we're going to have a Week 6 recap. We're going to be talking about the convention, the new hotel. We're going to be talking all about the new playoff structure, the 3 expansion teams coming into the league. And then we're going to run down our Sunday slate, give you our locks and upsets, and, of course, our bold predictions. They're going to be bolder than Doritos this week, folks. I can tell you that much. But first off, let's talk about what exactly happened last week in the SFL. Week 6. First off, the Sioux Falls Sparrows beat the St. Louis Gladiators 37-31. The Tallahassee Pride continued to pick apart the SFL, winning against Mexico City 31-20. The Chicago Wildcats are beginning their role in the SFL right now, beating the Oklahoma City Renegades in what looks like an old school SFL game right there, 49-23. The Atlanta Swarm beat the Queen City Corsairs 24-17. Nice little classic football score right there. In another expansion team brawl, the Indianapolis Red Devils beat the London Knights 31-14. The Tulsa Desperados were the only team to win on the road last week, beating the Carolina Skyhawks 27-20. The Vancouver Legion beat the Dallas Roughnecks, keeping them without a win so far this season, 23-7. The San Francisco Sharks pulled off a nice little upset last week, 35-20 over the Houston Hyenas. Then, in probably one of the most impressive showings last week, the San Antonio Vaqueros were able to pull off the upset on the front page of Twitch against Alaska Storm, 26-19. I'm pretty sure that might be some SFL scoreagami right there. But of course, before we dive into this week, Ramos, tell the audience here about what the announcements concerning the convention.
Yeah, start booking your hotels, everybody.
Yeah, and if you book with other people, you can get $45 a night. If you're solo, it's $89. 3, it's $30. 4, it's $22. You can get a nice low rate going right there. But of course, now before we head also into this week, we've got to talk about the new SFL playoffs. Mighty, why don't you go run down how these... Oh, actually, before we go into that, we're going to talk about some expansion here. One team for each conference. Mighty, how are you feeling about that?
Well, we're about growth here in the SFL. We're always about introducing new talent and giving their talents opportunities to shine. So any prospective owners out there that are looking to jump into the fray of ownership and running your own thing and joining this owners fraternity that Ramos and I are part of, I believe the apps should be rolling in the next couple of weeks. And once you fill those applications out for ownership, there'll be a detailed explanation as to what entails of that and what you need to do to kind of put yourself in a favorable position to be able to land a team for season 11.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, the owner of St. Louis posted a nice little thing about that in the Discord server. I'm sure someone might have pinned that. I hope someone did. Ramos, how are you feeling about that right there?
Yeah, likewise, I think that it's good to have more teams around. It's always good, always exciting to see newcomers in the league because, we've always had historically expansion teams that go all the way to either win a championship or be in the championship. In season 4, we had the Maulers, and in season 5, we had the Gorillas and the Dragons. Season 6, we had the Hyenas. In season 3, even though they did not go to the championship game, we had the 8-0 Baltimore Crabs at the time. So, expansion teams historically, this year Tulsa. So, historically, expansion teams do very, very well in the SFL. So, it's going to be very exciting, in my opinion, to see which team next season out of the 3 new coming teams, will be that team that will just surprise everybody. Everybody will be in one different division. So it will be very interesting to see how they play against more experienced teams.
Alrighty, now we're going to be barreling right through playoff structure. Mighty, explain to us how this new playoff structure has been breaking down so far this season.
Man, this thing is awesome what's going on right now. It took some planning in the offseason about how is it going to look. So the top two teams from each conference advance to the quarterfinals. Okay, and then the next four spots amongst all the teams remaining, the top four records will then be playing off on a wild card Wednesday to see which two teams will advance to be able to partake in the quarterfinals with the top six already. C 7 through 10, again, the bottom four can come from any conference in any alignment. So if a conference was strong, it might get two out of those last four spots to get in. And like I said, they will face off on a wild card Wednesday that will be on Twitch. So I can't wait to see how that goes down.
And say we have two teams that finish off, say they go 8-4. How are we going to determine who goes into higher seed or even who goes at all?
Well, here you have a crazy algorithm where we brought in a team of scientists to help us. No, man, it's simple, man. It's head to head. Right? If they faced off each other, we go with head to head first and foremost. If they didn't play each other, we'll look at each team's conference record. Whichever has the better is the one that advances. If that doesn't happen, then we look at the strength of their victories. Who have they beaten? Have they beaten strong teams, or have they feasted on teams that didn't have as successful seasons that they would have hoped? If that doesn't work, we'll look at conference point differential amongst the teams in their conference when they played them. How much did they win by cumulatively? I hope that's the word. So that's how we kind of break down who gets to go in or who doesn't get to go in if teams are tied.
Alrighty, and out of the current tiebreakers, we got, and of course, out the conference tiebreakers will be used to break through the rest. Now, with the current playoff standings throughout the SFL, at the top we have the Tulsa Desperados at 6-0. Number 2, we have Tallahassee, 3 Alaska, 4 Sioux Falls, 5 San Antonio, 6 Atlanta, 7 Indianapolis, 8 Houston, 9 St. Louis, and 10 London. Ramos, I mean, what really surprised you about this, and who are you not surprised to see here at all?
Well, I'm surprised to see Tulsa at 6-0. We spoke before the season how I really like Tulsa's build, even though I like the build a lot. I did not see them at 6-0 first place. I just didn't see it. What really doesn't surprise me is Alaska. Alaska Storm, a team that is always there, a team that just went to the playoffs last season. So, Tallahassee is also a very experienced team that has been in the playoffs before. So what really surprises me there is Tulsa. Doesn't surprise me. Alaska, right there. Houston doesn't surprise me being in the playoff picture. So, it's interesting that we have 3 expansion teams in the playoffs. So, or 4 rather. So, it's really impressive how those teams are really starting to play strong now. You see teams in the chart with very good streaks. Winning 2 games in a row, really cementing themselves this season. And the teams are starting to lose. You watch those teams, and it's like they will bounce back. London is playing really strong. St. Louis is doing so as well. So I think it's very, very good company to be here in the top 10.
Yeah, some surprising ones not there include Mexico City, Chicago, and even Queen City is not in there right now, although they are just outside at 11th. Now, of course, we're going to barrel through the upcoming weekend's slate. First off, we have a rematch from all the way back in week 2 between the Mexico City Aztecs and the Carolina Skyhawks. So far, the Skyhawks have only gotten 1 win this season, that being against the Aztecs. My man Mighty, how you feeling about this?
Well, seeing that I believe this is only their second ever head-to-head matchup. Earlier this season, they played. AJ Francis was a man in that game. Carolina is 1-0 all time now because of that game they had prior in the season against Mexico City. Coming into this game, Carolina brings in the last ranked offense in the SFL. They're facing Mexico City's number 7 defense. Carolina's also bringing in the number 14 off defense, and they're facing off against Mexico City's number 16. Mexico City has the number 2 passing defense. Why am I bringing that up? Because Carolina has the dead last passing offense in the SFL, which is going to be problematic because I could see Mexico City loading the box up and forcing Mark Biddix and the plethora of weapons he has at his disposal to beat them. To kind of fade to have Carolina's weakness go at Mexico City's strength. Turnover differential is going to be a big thing in this game. Mexico City sits at +2 on the season. Carolina sits at -4. I like Mexico City in this one to kind of start their second half push to get back into the second season that we call the playoffs.
And because it gave us favoritism, I'm sure we're now going to lose. We'll stick with you, Mighty. You're also going to have to tell us about what's going to happen between, well, essentially the founding SFL matchup here between the OKC Renegades, owned by Mr. Irvine's father, and of course Dallas Roughnecks. Not very hot so far this season, but is the team in the area of the headquarters of the SFL. Mighty again. What are we to expect from this?
This is a matchup of some old heads in this league, some teams that have been around for a long time. Dallas holds a 3-2 edge in the all-time matchups, including being 2-1 at home. They'll be home tomorrow. OKC brings in the number 10 scoring offense. They face up against Dallas's number 17 scoring defense. Dallas brings in the number 17 scoring offense. They'll face up against OKC's number 17 scoring defense. In this, OKC brings in the number 1 run defense in all the land. They also bring in the number 3 passing offense in all the land. Dallas is going to have their work cut out for them this game to kind of get things going, to find a way to put points on the board, as well as to keep OKC's highly efficient passing attack at bay. OKC also they've been pretty good about keeping the ball away, not turning it over. And I could see them doing more of the same and being able to eke out a victory in Dallas this coming Sunday.
Okay, also this week we have a showdown out west between the San Francisco Sharks and the Alaska Storm. The Storm, of course, coming off just being humiliated on the front page. Ramos, do you think they'll be the ones with the lust for blood this week going in against the Sharks?
Yeah, I do. I don't see Alaska losing 2 in a row. When we look at the stats, Alaska has the number 4 offense as far as yards go. And the thing is that San Francisco on yards allowed, it goes all the way down to 17. So that is second last in the SFL. Also in passing yards, Alaska has 344.8 passing yards a game, whilst San Francisco is allowing about 287.2, which is kind of middle of the pack. But I think that, Robert Merrill, those boys will eat this week. I don't see Alaska losing 2 in a row. I was impressed what I saw from San Fran last week against Houston. But at the same time, I think Alaska will take this one. Another thing that we have to keep an eye on, Alaska is -1 in turnover differential, which is not great. But when we look at San Francisco, they are -4, which is just a little bit worse. So the 120 rushing yards that San Francisco is allowing a game is not a big concern, since Alaska doesn't like to run the ball much. But Nordellos, he can make some plays. He's been in every game just catching the ball out of the backfield, making touchdowns. So I like Alaska in this ball game.
And also, we're going to be heading into the heartland of this country, the heartland, where we're going to be seeing the Chicago Wildcats, as they're going to be taking on the Tulsa Desperados, almost like the team to beat in this league. Mighty, what are we to expect from this little brawl in the heartlands?
Tulsa being an expansion team, they opened this season facing off against the Chicago Wildcats. Tulsa was able to escape from that one with a 17-10 win. So they're 1-0 all-time against the Chicago Wildcats. In this game, the hashtag Cardiac Outlaws bring in the number 5 offense and the number 5 defense. Chicago brings in the number 14 scoring offense and the number 1 scoring defense in the SFL. So this is going to be another low scoring game. Be ready for that. Chicago brings in also the number 1 passing defense as well as the number 5 rush defense. So yeah, Chicago's defense is pretty good. Tulsa though is one of those is the most ball secure team in the NFL in the SFL. I'm sorry, they don't turn it over and they take it away a whole bunch. Especially with that strong safety that's making a strong bid for not only defensive MVP for league MVP overall. That Charles Ball out there. Tulsa just finds a way late in the game to pull it out, and until they stub their toe and finally lose, I cannot go against them. Give me Tulsa for this game.
Then also, just something crazy is going to happen here, as it always seems to happen in a Tulsa Desperados game. But also this week, we got a good one. We got a heaping helping of some San Antonio v. Vancouver action here in the Western Conference. Ramos, what do you have to say about these two teams that are your former Western Conference foes?
Well, Vancouver has definitely played better as of late. But I'm liking really San Antonio, what they're doing in the past, especially last week when they beat Alaska. I think that defense was just so good on not allowing the touchdown, obviously. It was a field goal fest in that game. So, I think San Antonio just game planned that game very well, and I think that they will do it again. Vancouver presents the, unfortunately, dead last defense in yards. They are second last in points allowed a game. The turnover differential is good at 4. However, it just doesn't convince me the way San Antonio does, just allowing 21 points a game, in 86.7 rushing yards a game. So I think San Antonio right now has a more solid team. They're playing very well. They have the better special teams, in my opinion, which, believe it or not, is a big part sometimes in SFL games. So give me San Antonio in this ball game. I think that they are right now on a roll, and right now, obviously, they are in the playoff picture, and they will continue to roll this season.
Yes, yeah, they really are, and of course, those special teams, as we know, Ramos, they are a very, very big deal. Of course, now we're going to move into some prime time slam downs here. On Sunday night, we're going to be having the Indianapolis Red Devils, top wild card in the league right now, taking on the Sioux Falls Sparrows, who I think are currently number 4 in the playoff picture. Mighty, how you feeling about this one right here?
In this Sunday night tilt, you got the Red Devils, that high-powered, that high-octane passing offense, facing off against Jason and my boy AJ's defense, who's currently ranked number 10. Like, I'm not used to Sioux Falls defense being in double digits. AJ, I know you're in the chat. Like, I'm not used to this. Is an anomaly. But you also have Indy's number 8 ranked defense facing off against Sioux Falls number 7 ranked O. Indy, as I said, comes in with the number 4 passing D, the number 4 passing O, but they also have bringing the number 16 running offense. They need to find a way to get balance. And especially in this game, because if they can't force Sioux Falls to kind of respect the run in the short game, the deep stuff downfield won't be open to kind of take advantage of one-on-one matchups. Sioux Falls also comes into this game with the number 1 run D. So even if Indy were looking to kind of run the ball at them, Sioux Falls' run defense is still pretty good. Sioux Falls at home, second half of the season is starting this weekend. I like Sioux Falls. I like AJ. I like Jason. Give me the Sparrow for this matchup here.
Okay, I'll be handing you a Sparrow. I'll be delivering it to you in the mail, probably all mashed up. But Ramos, how are you feeling about this Northern brawl?
I think it's actually pretty impressive how Sioux Falls is sitting on 4-2 due to the fact that they have had 13 turnovers on the season. As a matter of fact, this game will feature two teams that combined they have 25 turnovers this year, and we will look at the other teams that are same as Sioux Falls or worse than Sioux Falls. You look at San Francisco, they're 2-4. You look at Carolina, they are 1-5, and you look at Dallas, they're 0-6. So the fact that Sioux Falls with pretty much similar numbers as far as turning the ball over goes, I think it's actually pretty impressive that they are sitting in 4-2. I will agree with Mighty. I have Sioux Falls in this ball game. I think Indianapolis kind of hit a brick wall. It's not that they will not bounce back, but I think that they have to gather some, put some things together. Whilst Sioux Falls, I just think they are right now the stronger, better team. When we look at yards, when we look at all those things, the experience, just like Sioux Falls in this ball game.
Okay, so it looks like I'm going to have to be mailing out 2 sparrows to you, too. That's going to be fun to explain that to the postman. Also, that next night on Monday, we're going to be seeing the Tallahassee Pride taking on the evil empire of the SFL, the Queen City Corsairs. How many games has Tallahassee not been in primetime? I think only once, if memory serves.
Yeah, I believe
Mighty,
so,
how do you
only
feel
one.
about that?
Yes, they kind of have like they're on prime time every week. I mean, can you blame us? The number one passing offense, number one scoring offense, undefeated. Like that's just good teams get prime time. That's just how it goes. Anyways, in this matchup here of two heavyweights, even though it was odd in the playoff, as when we just did a little playoff breakdown, there's no Queen City. That I'm not used to seeing stuff like that. You got, as I was saying, the number one offense in all the land is facing off against Queen City's number 13 defense. You got Tallahassee's number 2 defense going off against Queen City's number 4 offense. Tallahassee. Funny to me, Tallahassee brings in the number 15 passing defense into this ball game, which is weird to see, but you can see they give up some yards, but eventually those 4 mastodons they have on the D-line, those behemoths, get to heating up and start to make quarterbacks' life difficult. Queen City brings into this game the number 2 running offense. Queen City's going to have to find a way to keep Ash Odom in the ball game by keeping it close. I don't know how they're going to do that, if they're going to play a bunch of safe defenses and force kind of Tallahassee to kind of have to march the field and not be able to get these explosive plays in the passing game. I don't know if that's going to be possible. Queen City does run 2 non-contract corners out there on the outsides. We know Tallahassee got the best pair of receivers in the league between Kenny G and Duke Wilson. I'm like, if they can't find a way to, have Ash go for 300, and I don't see it happening, I like Tallahassee in this ball game.
Alrighty, so you're going with Tallahassee. Ramos, how are you feeling about this game, especially considering that these were the last 2 teams that you've played throughout the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, I agree, and I also like Tallahassee in this ball game. We will have some points. We will have points. We will have yards in this game. We are looking at the number 1 scoring offense, as Mighty was saying, 36.17 points a game. But Queen City not too shabby. They're number 4 in points per game at 26.33. The thing is, if as Mighty was saying, if they can get the running going in this game, because if they are forced to throw, that's where those 4 dudes they're unbelievable. They're just incredible. Obviously, we had to face them, and they're just they play angry. They just play angry, and I think that they have to stay away from those guys. I don't know how they're gonna do it because it's really tough to stay away from the trenches. But I think that that's what Queen City needs to do. Just short, timing passes, just to have the defense probably a little bit on their heels and just force coverages, because if not, if the Tallahassee defensive linemen can just feast, it's going to be really, really ugly. But I don't think it's going to be that way. I think we will have a very good game. Probably both teams will have more than 27 points because that's what they do. So give me Tallahassee on this ball game.
Okay, so we're going 2-0 for Tallahassee. Well, I mean, I don't blame you guys, really. They're probably the best team in the league. So tonight, we got 2 games coming up for you. Later on tonight, we have the Houston Hyenas taking on the Gladiators of St. Louis, who've been doing pretty well for themselves this season. Same going for Houston after starting out pretty poorly. Mighty, how are you feeling about this?
Houston, I really like their chances tonight to kind of get back on their winning track after last week, falling to San Fran. They bring in the number 6 defense. We know Dr. Sim and two scoops. Um, Eddie Gage. They know defense offensively. They're middle of the pack ish, but they do bring in the number 1 running back in all of the land. Explosive, explosive, like explosive. St. Louis has the number 3 run defense, but they also bring in the number 16 passing offense. If they can't move the ball through the air consistently against Houston, they're in trouble. And St. Louis also is very good at holding on to the ball. They don't turn it over. They're +5 on the season. The only way for them to keep this a game is by making sure they stay on those safe ways of not turning it over. I like Houston to turn up the heat to force ICL into some errant throws that it could take advantage of. Give me Houston tonight.
Okay, so you're taking Houston. Okay, taking it to the Houston Hyenas. Ramos, are you taking it also for the Hyenas, or are you going to be throwing one in a lion for the Gladiators?
I will go with the Gladiators on this one. I like their third-ranked rushing defense, allowing only 66.3 points yards a game. Rushing. And I think I did not love what I saw from the Hyenas last week against San Fran. I think they will fix some issues that they had last game. It was just an off game for them, I think. But I liked how St. Louis has been playing, even though they only are 3-3. It's not like they are the Tulsa 6-0. But I like St. Louis in this ball game to win this one. It's gonna be close, probably 3-4 point game. We will have a good game, close game. But give me St. Louis.
Alrighty, so you're feeling St. Louis. Coming up right after this in just a couple of minutes, we got the Atlanta Swarm taking on the London Knights. Mighty, give us something brief about this game right here.
Atlanta leads this one 1-0. They had an opening weekend win at home against the London Knights. The Knights will be looking for some revenge here. BDG Hollywood leads the SFL in scoring in rushing touchdowns. London is going to have to find a way to force Atlanta to have to throw the ball regularly. So if they got to load the box to take BDG away, to force Atlanta to throw it, because Atlanta passing the ball, they're no great shakes. I think they're middle of the pack. That's the only way for them to stay in the game. If BDG takes over, you could pretty much call this a wrap. I like Atlanta. Atlanta's defense is a stick, both offensively, through the air on the ground. They're number 4 in both. Give me Atlanta for tonight.
Alrighty, Ramos, do you agree or do you disagree?
I agree. I will take Atlanta. BDG Hollywood is just too good in my opinion, and I really love that Atlanta defensive backfield. They are +5 in turnover differential. I like the Swarm.
Alrighty, and now, of course, real quick before we go, Mighty, give us a lock. Give us an upset.
I like Houston tonight. I like Houston to take care of business tonight and get back to winning. I like Vancouver. Vancouver's my upset? Like, is that how? Well, yes, I like Vancouver to be the upset over San Antonio. Big time.
Okay, so you're taking that big time upset there. I'm sure there's more vicarious because you couldn't beat them last week. Ramos, how are you feeling for tonight?
I will go the opposite way. I like San Antonio as my lock over Vancouver. And my upset, I really like Chicago. They scored almost a 50-burger last week. Tulsa, they are a very good team, but they have had a couple breaks, Hail Mary, fake field goal. So they have had a couple breaks. They're still a very good team, but I like Chicago as my upset this week.
Okay, so going some crazy there in the second week in a row where you two disagree on something. Good. That brings in ratings. Speaking of things that bring in ratings, we're going to end off real quick the nice bold prediction. Now, Mighty, give us a bold prediction.
Well, my bold prediction is I'm liking home teams to go 8-1 this week.
Okay, no, that's pretty bold right there. Last week did the same, so you're expecting back-to-back. Ramos, very tough task again. You're going to have to give us a prediction so bold we can end this podcast off with it. Go.
Alrighty, so I have 12 combined sacks in the Queen City Tallahassee game. Obviously, those two teams combined like a billion defensive linemen. I think that both teams in a very high-scoring game, they will like to throw the ball. So give me 12 combined sacks in this game.
Now, that's going to be quite the bloody little match right there. You know what? I'm also going to throw another one at you. Who do you think is going to have more sacks there?
Probably Tallahassee, like an 8-4 ratio.
Alrighty. And with that, we end off tonight's episode of the SFL podcast here, presented by APM Music. I, of course, am your host, Jack Brown, alongside my analysts, Ramos and Mighty. And we'd like to thank you for tuning in this week. Now go hop over and watch as the Atlanta Swarm travel off to the UK to face off against the London Knights.